everyone. Welcome to Immigration Talk on Indus TV. Today we have with us attorney Poonam Bhuchar from Bhuchar Law Firm. Hello Poonam, welcome to the show.
Hi Kartika, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So in the past we have discussed a lot about H1 visas and green card processing and EB-5s, but I want to talk to you today about some other categories the businesses and the organizations can use to bring the talent into the country, because H1 visas have become a little tricky in last few years. So I would like to know your opinion on other visas to bring some talent into the country.
Sure. There are a number of different visas, and as you said, the H1B is once a year in the lottery, and it's hard for businesses to plan, and so many times you may need somebody immediately and you can't wait for the lottery system. So a lot of the times what we do, we'll use, for instance, where there is a foreign company, we'll use the subsidiary or the parent company to bring over senior executives on an L1A visa. Or if there's a particular product or a platform that a company has developed in India and that the company is connected to a US company, we'll bring over engineers on specialized knowledge visas with an L1B. And those visas are not subject to a lottery system, so it allows you to bring people over fairly immediately, because the L1A and the L1B, you can premium process, and absent COVID, you know, with the proclamations and the bans of entering the US, absent that, you can have people here relatively quickly on an L1A or an L1B visa. So the L1A is for managers or executives, and it's an intra-company transferee visa, so you would have to have a company in a foreign country that is connected to the US company. It can be, there are various different categories. It can be a subsidiary, it can be an affiliate, it can be a branch. There are various criteria that need to be filled, a joint venture. And then if somebody is in a managerial or senior level position, you're able to bring them over to the US on the L1A category. I like the L1A category a lot because it's quicker for people to get green cards because they qualify under the EB1 category, which today is current. So somebody can file an I-140 485 together and potentially get their green card within a couple of years.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Considering the wait times we have been going
exactly.
through. Yeah.
And the other thing is we use a lot of L1As for companies that start up. So they have a foreign company, but they're looking to develop the subsidiary, the parent, the joint venture in the US. So we use that for a lot of people that want to come over, as provided they have staff in India and they have an existing business, and we bring over a lot of people for startups that way as well. Again, it makes the green card process quicker for them down the line, and it's easier for them to plan ahead with their business. The L1B, you have to have specialized or advanced knowledge regarding a product or advanced knowledge regarding the company's procedures. Historically, the L1Bs tend to get denied. The denial rate is a lot higher than the L1As, but we have brought people over successfully using that category. And I think it's something companies should think about when they're planning the future of their business, because if the H1B category keeps going the way it is, like even in today's cap, we have companies that filed, you know, several people for H1Bs, and maybe 3 or 4 were picked up
during the lottery process.
Yeah, so it means people are short on resources, and you have to start planning different avenues to bring people over.
So there is no cap in the numbers of L1A, or no cap at all?
As of now, no.
Okay, so they can get as many people as they want without going through the lottery process.
Well, let me caveat that, right? Because in theory, yes.
Okay.
But how many managers and executives are you going to have, and how many are you going to be able to justify? So it has to be planned out very carefully.
Okay.
So a lot of times when we deal with companies, they'll tell us, or we'll ask the question, what is your projection for the next year, and how many L1As are you trying to bring over, so that we can plan accordingly. And again, with the L1Bs, every employee in India can't, or abroad can't have specialized knowledge regarding
Right.
the product. It has to be a subset of the employees.
And that has to be proven through paperwork that they have
Absolutely.
specialized knowledge.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's pretty extensive paperwork, but it is, if it's done correctly, the chances of getting it are fairly good.
And as you said, if not done correctly, the chances of denials are fairly high as well.
The chances are now generally are high, but you can overcome a lot of them.
Okay. So other than the L1 visas, are there any other categories which the businesses can use to bring talent into their firm?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are. It depends obviously on what kind of business it is. If it's an entertainment visa, people have used the P1, P2, P3. There's also the O visa that we've actually crafted ways to use it in the business sector. So the O visa is typically for anybody with extraordinary ability in the arts, education, sciences, athletics, and it can also be people who are TV stars and TV artists, or who have shown and exhibited extraordinary ability in motion pictures. So a lot of the famous people will come over on the O1 visa, but we've actually used it for people like a famous squash player. I've used it for 2 senior executives of a business. So when people hear extraordinary ability, they typically think like, oh my God, I must have won the Oscars, or I must have won the Emmy, or I must have won these major awards. It's not necessarily true. Yes, that is one criteria that would fulfill for the O visa. But the O visa has 10 different types of categories, and it even allows for provisions where if a business can't fit into those 10 categories, then maybe you can provide alternative evidence. But we've brought over some senior executives for a manufacturing company using those visas, and successfully. I was hesitant doing it, but we have done it successfully. So it is a visa that businesses should use, especially if they're in a specialized area or a specialized field and they have people that have niche areas that they work in. It's something that they should explore with an attorney, or they can ask us, and we're more than happy to help. But it is a great visa and a great tool. And again, like the L1, the reason I like it is because if you typically get an O1 visa, and you've proved that criteria, your chances of proving that you qualify for extraordinary ability under the EB1 is also very good. So I tend to tell companies that use the O visa or the L1A, they should be used as an ACE card. They should be used for your most senior employees, the employees that are critical to your company.
Yeah, the precious assets for
exactly.
you, not for everybody.
They're the aces of the business, right?
And so not to get a bulk of people, but just
exactly,
a few. Right?
Exactly,
Okay.
and that comes with careful planning. And I think one thing that a lot of businesses have to become more and more aware of. A lot of the time, Karthika, we'll get businesses just tell us, file this H1, file this L1.
Right.
But sometimes it's important to see what the bigger picture is, because there may be other visas that qualify. And a lot of the times, if immigration attorneys are aware of the business's needs for that particular year, planning can go a long way in helping a business perform better.
And as you said, it's better for the people who are coming in because their green card is much quicker as compared to the H1, right?
Absolutely.
And is there a time cap for this O visa? How long a person can stay here, or?
So it's up to 3 years, but you can extend it if you need it. But typically the people that we've brought in on an extraordinary ability, typically they're filing for their green card within a year or 2 anyway.
Okay.
So they never typically aren't looking for the extensions.
I have heard of another visa which comes up a lot in this discussion called the E2 visa. Do you mind shedding some light on that for us?
Sure. So E2 is actually unfortunately not applicable to Indian citizens.
Okay.
But for everybody else, it is applicable if you invest a substantial amount in a business or providing a service. It can also used for trading goods. That's the E1, but the E2 is used for investing in a business and providing services. And it's used if you're a national of a country that has a treaty with the Treaty of Commerce with the USA. So there's plenty of European countries, there's plenty of Caribbean islands that have such a treaty. and there's no specific amount. So for instance, with the EB5, there's now the 500,000 or the million, or the 900,000, but with the EB2, it just has to be a substantial investment in comparison to the business. So I would say, obviously, if the business is 300,000, then you're probably looking to have to put down 150,000. If the business is 100,000, you're looking to put down the complete 100,000. And a lot of people that come on E2s end up buying a lot of franchises here and investing in those businesses. So it is a great tool to use if you want to come in and start up a business and worry about filing an EB5 later on, or worry about maybe switching to a H1B later on. It's just a tool that allows you to come in and start working.
But not get your green card?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just to start working?
Well, start working in that business, but it's a way of some people entering the United States from those countries, especially people who have kids and they want them to attend school here or colleges here, and they're planning for that.
So talking about all these visas, H1s, L1s, and all the restrictions and delays, what are the ramifications the businesses are going through these days? What do you see in your office? What kind of problems are the organizations coming up with?
Karthika, I think the truth is, under the Trump administration, there was a lot of immigration things that became tighter, some unnecessarily. And what has happened even prior to the Trump administration, immigration is such a broad field, right? You have all types of immigration: corporate immigration, refugees, asylum, non-resident aliens. You have all kinds of different immigration. To ultimately reform the whole system in one shot is not going to happen. But because of the way the system is and how archaic it is, we're seeing on a day-to-day basis in our business that people have businesses, they need the resources and they're not able to get them. So as a result, they're having to find innovative ways to do it. The other thing that we're seeing is, I've seen people that wanted to invest in building up startups here or before the entrepreneurial rule or different things. And they've hesitated and they've moved to other countries to do it because they cannot believe that to get a green card in the US under normal circumstances with a work visa, you're looking at 20 to 60 years. Whereas I have a client who's like, this is a joke because it's going to take me minimum 5 to 6 years to get a green card under a certain category. Yet in the UK, I can invest £150,000 and get permanent residency within 2 years. Same thing in Canada, it's easier to get permanent residency. So what we're seeing is talent is moving away. Businesses are getting frustrated, and as a result, people are opening subsidiaries or joint ventures in different countries, or Canada's an option where a lot of companies are opening up, which means when you're bringing pools of talents over, people who have families want their green cards. If they can get it quicker in Canada, they're going to go there. If they can get it quicker in the UK, they're going to get it there. And they're going to be more and more reluctant to come to the US.
And the business here are at a loss, right?
Absolutely.
Loss big time from talent, revenue, everything.
Everything. Even from bringing new businesses into the US, I think the laws are so archaic that it is hindering businesses from coming in.
And that's not a good news.
It's not, because I can tell you over the last few years, we're seeing a lot of talent leave the US. And clients are frustrated because they have legitimate business needs that they can't fulfill.
That's not great in any way.
No, and I understand that you can't overhaul such a big system like this in a day. But piecemeal, I think, hopefully the new administration will start working on it, and hopefully we can see some changes.
Let's keep our fingers crossed.
I hope so.
We were just talking about the ramifications and all the problems the businesses are going through: talent, revenue, new options, entrepreneurs, everything is in shortage. What can we do to solve it? Fixing the immigration system probably is not going to happen overnight, as we just said, but any other steps the businesses can take?
So I think businesses, employees, I think the first is, it is important to sit down with your immigration attorney and just plan what the business looks like for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, whether it's a startup or an existing business, and what your plan is for bringing on people. How many people do you need? And I understand projects vary and people don't always understand how many people they need, but it's good to have a plan, because a lot of businesses are stuck on the H-1B and the L, but there are other options, creative solutions that we can come up with, and I think it's important to sit down with an attorney and discuss them. The other thing that we've been doing a lot is that there are a lot of countries that offer incentives to gain permanent residency.
Okay.
So while the green card process in the US goes by your country of birth, okay, or your spouse's country of birth if there's cross-chargeability. While that's true, there are ways to come in by obtaining permanent residency through other countries, whether it's the Caribbean island, Grenada, various European countries, and coming in on an E2 and then trying to figure out your way how to get a green card.
Right.
It's a less frustrating process. People aren't waiting years and years for the H-1B lottery system. Businesses can use that tool in different ways, and so can people that just want to come into the US and build a life. But those are some of the creative ways that are out there, and they can be discussed with an immigration attorney that is aware of these. But other than that, there's the new entrepreneur rule that came out under the Obama administration, and Trump cancelled it, and now Biden has reenacted it. But basically, it allows businesses to bring startup businesses that have started within the last 5 years, and people who have significant ownership in those businesses, to bring in 3 potential major people into the business and to help build that business. But it has to be a substantial investment, and you know, we're talking about $250,000 and above, and the business has to create jobs for US workers and things like that. But it is another tool that can be used. But if you think about it, other than that, there's really not much available for professionals, and I think it's, you know, it is something that needs to get changed, especially when you see that 40% of the Fortune 500 companies are created and built by immigrants. Okay, you look at someone like Elon Musk. He came over on a student visa. There's not, and a lot of the top CEOs and presidents have come over, CFOs have come over on student visas, H1 visas. There's not really a broad spectrum for professional visas, and I think it needs to become more up to date and in line with today's world.
Yeah, so it's a very tight spot for both the employees and the employers to be in. The only solution is to get really, really creative.
Right, and I really do believe this helps boost the economy. There is work out there. And while I recognize that there's a lot of fraud and things like that, but people who are using the tools correctly, it can bring in more talent and work into the country.
So on that note, Poonam, we'll move on to some viewer questions. I'll play the first one for you.
Hey, my name is John, and my question is, being on L1A visa, can I transfer my visa to different employer?
A good question. It's one that comes up a lot. The answer is you can only transfer it if you've worked for a foreign subsidiary parent branch before you entered the United States. If you've never worked for the foreign company, then no, you can't transfer on an L1A.
John, I hope that answered your question. So the next question we have for you is...
I am Rajiv Sharma. I have a question. I am on L1A visa. Is my spouse allowed to work?
Great question. So yes, unlike the H4 visa, where the spouse cannot work until the I-140 is approved, with the L1A, the spouse can work as soon as they apply for the EAD and it gets approved. They don't have to wait for a green card and I-140 approval. So yes, they can.
That's wonderful news.
It is.
Yep. I know for the people who are on H4, can't get social securities, can't get work.
It's frustrating.
So this is a great news for. So we have one last question for you, Poonam.
Hi, my name is Siddharth. My question is how long can I stay in the United States on an E2 visa?
So, hi, Siddharth. Hi. So, for the E2 visa, you can stay anywhere for 3 months to 5 years, depending on how well you convince the officer at the consulate. But it can be extended indefinitely if needed. So, it will depend upon the kind of business that you have and the officer that you present the case to.
So any final words, Poonam, for our audience, for our businesses, for our employees?
First of all, thank you for having me. But I think it's just important when you run a business to just sit down with your attorney and every year just check in and see what the business, and tell them what the business needs are for that year so that you can plan accordingly.
We have a very exciting news to share with our audience. Poonam and the Bhuchar law firm have opened a new location in Austin, Texas. Congratulations, Poonam.
Thank you, Karthika. We are so excited. As you know, Austin, Texas is the new hub where a lot of the big companies are moving, and it's supposed to be the next Silicon Valley. So we are very excited to be able to cater to our existing Texas clients and hopefully a lot more new ones.
Wish you lots of luck for that.
Thank you so much.
So for any legal advice, please feel free to reach out to Poonam. Her email address is poonam@bhucharlaw.com. This is your host Karthika signing off. Take care.